So factory,
all right, Mark, 352.
you're gonna have obviously the bump stop would be on there, the bump stop sleeve will be on there, the hat to the strut will be on there, and then the 15mm bolt on top. Okay, all that's going to be neatly affixed in place, right? You're going to want to start with a 15mm. This is a 15 on top, and while these two are affixed to the actual chassis, you're going to want to remove this 15 first.
Which, if you, right there.
And these are 18mm bolts that are the big boys here, and they've got Loctite on them, so they're sometimes a little tough. But so while that's affixed to the chassis, you're going to remove this 15mm bolt. Reason being, if you remove this from the chassis as such, and this is still attached, and then you try to remove this, now this is all free spinning, moving. If you leave it attached to the chassis and you remove this, all you got to do is grab hold of the bump stop a little bit through that sleeve and get it started, and this will come right off of the collar. Okay. So once you pull that off, these two 18s will be here. They'll be in through this way. You'll pull those two 18s. I pull them loose, and then I remove the two 15mm. The two 15mm bolts on the bottom. Okay, so you'll get underneath. There's nothing on top. You just two 15s and pull them straight out. So the 15 on top, the two 18s, the two 15s on the bottom. Okay.
I didn't have the 85 that day yet.
This, if you look close, has a ridge on the top of the strut that is smaller than this. This is actually compacted underneath that. So to get these out, you kind of have to force a screwdriver in there and do some wiggle room, right? And then you got to pull them up over this jam.
Just kind of stood there like, I don't know what I'm doing.
So for this, you need, what is that, a 15 and an 18, and that'll take it out.
Correct, 15 and 18, yep. Now, when you're going to put the Vikings in, a couple things. You want to start with the knobs all the way at 0, because you've got compression and rebound both independently adjustable. We're going to run 4 compression, 6 rebound. That's where we're going to start. So you put a flathead screwdriver in that slot, you rotate it 4 times on this one, rotate it 6 times on this one. So yeah, I mean, it just depends on, most of the springs that I install aren't like super crazy drops, so it doesn't really matter. But if you're going like a Sportline or a Vogtland, that's, you know, a pretty substantial drop, you can just trim this first ring and just get rid of that. They sell in the kits, you know, when you're buying the lowering springs, they come with their own bump stops, but they're the same exact height as stock. So I just cut the stock ones and move on. But these ones on Eddie's car specifically, they've got some damage. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and trim that. And I didn't notice any damage on the driver's side, and I've already installed the driver's side. I'm going to pull the driver's side back off just to check. And you know, do I want to pull the driver's side off? No, not really. But would you want the guy installing your stuff to pull the driver's side off and check it again? Yes, right? So we're going to do that.
Talking about how he's got his bids in on the new one. I'd love to see that.
So, chop it off, make it look flush, nice and factory looking, and back in it goes. Replicate the way it was built on the factory side. So the first thing you're going to do, actually when you get it, you're going to have this retaining clip will be on here. You need E-clip removal tool, which is like a $10 tool from AutoZone. Probably $4 at Harbor Freight. And you have to pull that, and there's an O-ring underneath as well. So pull both of those out, then slide your bump stop on. Okay. Put your O-ring back in, and then put your E-ring tool back, your E-clip back on.
2015. I bought it as a leftover. In May of 2016. I think I paid $35 for it. I tried a Lexus, I had to trade in, so I was really in the hole on that.
And there's a little ridge. I don't know if you can see, but it clips into that little ridge there.
It was a pretty good car, but
So you've got a seal down here on the bottom from the shock stock, and then this seals up to the top there. And then your boot can go over it. And then obviously your shock top will go, and then your 15 millimeter, you could start just to get it hand tight or whatever. Okay. The difference here, Viking supplies its own hardware.
Did you notice that?
So there are 14s instead of 15s, and you've got the threaded nylon bolt, or nut rather. So you also have to have, instead of like on the factory how you just have the 15 on the bottom and it threads into a threaded collar, here you actually have to have a 14 on the bottom and a 14 on the top. The importance of telling you that is that when you install these,
yeah, I saw the pictures. I saw it on there.
one thing to note, Alex, is the positioning of the mount bar. Sometimes you have to use an adjustable wrench and pull these either forward or backwards so that they flush mount into the control arm down here, into the cup. See how these actually fit flush, right? So the importance of having told you about needing the two 14s instead of just one is it is a little bit tedious to get to the inside 14 millimeter. And by inside, I mean the one closest to the cabin of the vehicle. Let's see here, we'll fasten these 18s. So everything's just hand tight. I don't ever try and torque anything down because you need some wiggle room while installing the bottoms.
That's good.
Yeah. That factory room is done. Those tools are done. And we're ready for these bad boys.
Don't feel it work.
No.
So you've got two washers, simple enough, simple concept, right? This is going to go in from the bottom with a washer. Then this will come in from the top with the washer and the nut on top. Simple concept, right? Everybody on board with that?
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
So,
Oh, exactly.
there we go. Now this is the difficult one. It's the one closest to the cabin.
People love to go for rides. Oh yeah, you do, don't you?
But like, I'm gonna take pictures.
If you look in here, just kind of zoom in a little bit, Alex.
You got a yellow.
It's just tight, okay? It's not difficult in the method of, hey, this is hard or anything like that. It's just tight, so it makes it a pain in the butt because you got the half shaft here.
What's this?
You got this lip on the.
Yeah, I mean from here I can't even see.
Yeah, can you see my fingers here? Follow me in. So I'm working behind this dust boot on the axle, the half shaft, and working blind, right?
It's like powder coat chipping off.
Yeah. Do you have a powder coat?
No, they gave me that.
You got a little one right there. Oh, more up here.
I'm gonna have to give them a call. Damn, all the way around that one wheel. Alright, thanks for pointing that out. I never saw it. Not even weird.
It's just
I need to do better than that.
pain in the butt to get. There we go. And then once you get
My wheels.
literally just get it threaded, like one or two threads, right?
Nice set of wheels.
And then go in and hang the other one.
Over $2,000.
I don't ever tighten any of the bolts until they're all in. Does that make sense? Because you want to have some play, right?
Those wheels that, you know, but
That way you can tighten everything
$1,100 for tires.
equally.
I've been happy with those ones.
Draw it in.
Because my friend was selling his, he had a performance type GT with a Ricardo.
Okay. If you want to see this outside one, this is a lot easier to demonstrate. So, can you see this one here?
That one I see. Yeah.
Okay, good. So the bolt just comes in from the bottom with a washer on it. Then you've got your nut on top with a washer beneath it. Okay. Now these Vikings are super easy to manipulate. You just pull them flush like that, and then you just need your two 14s. So here's what I recommend using: is two extensions, a long one and a short one. with a 14mm socket for the top, because that'll get you in there nice and. There we go. Okay. And then I use an electric ratchet with a 14 on it for the bottom, because mama ain't raised no bitch. So 2 bolts in the bottom, the 15 on top, and then the 18 secures it to the chassis. But he took my, there we go. And that's pretty much it. So 15 on top, 2 18s here, 2 15s on the bottom factory, and then when you're reinstalling the Vikings, it's 2 14s. So pretty straightforward.
Wait. Needs to go backwards a little bit.
Oh, is that getting fully orange?
No. There we go.